Good night to that person. Tomorrow they'll say massive protest. Now, one person just going home to mommy a little bit sooner. Good night. But we're bound by these convictions. We will campaign for every vote, and we will win the great state of New Mexico in 2020. And by the way, you have thousands and thousands of people outside who can't get in. So we love you. We love you. We appreciate it. We try to get the biggest arena we can get, and they're never big enough, frankly. So there's something going on. And I always say 2016, I don't know if there'll ever be another 2016, but right now it's like a great tree or a great plant. You plant it, and it has to take hold. We have to win 2020. We're doing so well. We have to win 2020. And every day, and you know as well as I do, we're battling against the corrupt establishment of the past, and we're achieving historic victories for the American people. We're winning again, and we're winning big. We're winning big. Crucially for your state, we have ended the last administration's war on American energy. And since my election, natural gas production, big story today, in New Mexico has increased by 40%, 40. And that means great wages, and it means jobs, and that's why you're breaking every single record in your state's book. Crude oil production in New Mexico has more than doubled and going up a lot higher very quickly. And your state's energy revenues are up by nearly 2/3. Think of that, 2/3. And that's in a short period of time. Give me a little bit more time, okay? The United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world. And this means more jobs, higher wages, and American energy independence, which is what we have. You know, a few years ago, if we had a problem like you saw 2 days ago in the Middle East, we would have been in a panic. Although not if I were your president, we never panic. We don't want to panic. But a few years ago, they would have been in a panic. Today, we got a lot of oil, we got a lot of gas. Got a lot of oil and gas. We don't have to send too many boats over there. You notice the other day they were saying, we don't see too many American ships anymore. You know why? Because we're independent as we want, and we are now a net exporter of energy. Revenues from energy production provide up to 25% of your state's budget and going much higher in the very near future. And they've generated nearly $1 billion budget surplus in New Mexico. Thank you very much, President Trump. Thank you. Now, under the Green New Deal, that all goes away. That all goes away. It all goes away. You can forget it. No more cows, no more airplanes, no more trips. A single car, make it electric, single car. You're not allowed to travel more than 162 miles. They'll call us the Hermit Nation. We'll never leave our house. No, it's crazy, but that's okay. I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to do it too early. Maybe they'll change. I don't want them to change. But think of it for you and for Texas and for so many other places. They want to get rid of your energy. I mean, explain that one. Explain that. Yet every major Democrat running for president, they want to abolish all production of oil and natural gas. In other words, the Democrats want to completely annihilate New Mexico's economy. The Democrats want us to be subservient to foreign producers. They want us to be at the mercy of rogue regimes. That's not happening anymore. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's not happening anymore. But Democrats will never get the chance because New Mexico will never give them that chance. Under this administration, America is working again. America is winning again. And America is respected again, like it hasn't been for a long time. And I can tell you because I meet so many of the leaders and their presidents and their kings and their queens and their prime ministers and their everything, dictators every once in a while. Every once in a while, you get a rogue dictator. And I'll tell you, they always start off. Today, I had the Crown Prince of Bahrain. And they come in and they say, "Sir, I'd like to congratulate you on what you've done with the economy of the United States. It's a model for the entire world." They all say it. And earlier today, do we have any baseball fans, right? Right? You know what I'm going to say. But earlier today in the White House, I had the honor of awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest civilian award to someone who truly embodies the American dream. Baseball legend, the greatest, by the way, the greatest relief pitcher of all time. You look at those records. Mariano Rivera. He was something. Well, the Yankees won a lot of World Series because of Mariano. Great guy. We gave him the medal, done so much for charity. A fantastic man, fantastic family. It was a beautiful day at the White House, so it was good. My administration is fighting to empower all Americans to reach their dreams and achieve their potential. We have created 6 million new jobs since Election Day. The fake news would never have allowed us to say that during the campaign, even as a projection. Unemployment recently reached its lowest rate in over 50 years. More than 7 million Americans have been lifted off of food stamps. Nearly 600,000 Americans came into the labor force last month alone. Think of that. Wages in your state, New Mexico, are growing at a rate of much more than 3% a year, which is unheard of. 20 years ago, and I used to say during the campaign, you go back, it's hard to believe. I'm here almost 3 years. Can you believe how time is flying? Can you believe it? I don't know about me, but you look all much better than you did 3 years ago. You're wealthier. And even with the Me Too movement, we can't say this, but I'll say it anyway, you're better looking. Including the men. Including the men. Now you're all looking good. Since my election, the number of new business applications for New Mexico has increased by almost 30%, more than any state in the United States. Think of that. More than any state in the United States. So, essentially that's saying you're in a certain category, which is a very important category. You're doing better than any state in the United States. How do I lose New Mexico? Explain that one, right? How do we lose that one? Now, and yet, for whatever reason, it's been quite a while since a Republican won this state, but we're going to win the state. I think we're going to win the state easy. You had to see the people all the way in from the airport. That was a long drive, by the way, 35 minutes. That was a long drive, but all the way in, we had people and they were waving, and I didn't see any negative hand gesture. And they start telling you what they're going to do for you. And you say, but we have the best numbers, every category that we've ever had. Hispanic Americans, New Mexico as a whole. We have the best numbers. African Americans, the best numbers that we've ever had in the history of our country. Asian Americans, the best numbers that we've ever had in history. Women, the best numbers that we've had in 71 years. We're working night and day to deliver a future of limitless opportunity for our nation's Hispanic American citizens, including millions and millions of extraordinary Mexican Americans who enrich our society, strengthen our country, serve in our military, and contribute immensely to our shared American family. And I want to just tell you that Mexico is doing a great job for us on the border, and I want to thank the President of Mexico. You know, it's very interesting. I hear everybody screaming, well, you know, we're building the wall, and it's going up, and it's going up fast. And if you think that's easy, with the Democrats who control the House, we have to take it back. But if you think it's easy, but we're building a lot of wall, we'll have almost 500 miles of wall built by the end of next year, and it's making a big difference. 500 miles. But you know, we won a big case 2 months ago in the Supreme Court that allowed us to do what we're doing. This has been, I'll tell you what, ready? Another president would have given up a long time ago. We don't give up. So we're building the wall. The Army Corps of Engineers, we're doing a beautiful job. It's a great structure. It's a great structure. You're going to have to really want to get over that wall to do it. But you know, it was very interesting because not too long ago, I saw where the Hispanic American, the Hispanics, were up with me in a poll, 17%. And everyone said, how is that? How is that? How is that? 17%. Up by 70%. I won't even tell you what the final number was because they won't believe it. But you're going to see what the final number. But you know why? Because the Hispanic Americans, they understand they don't want criminals coming across the border. They don't want people taking their jobs. They want to have that security, and they want the wall. They want the wall. And we have a man in the audience who is, I think, the best dressed man in this entire place, including me, right here. Look at him. Come here. Look at him. Look at this guy. And he's been to a couple of rallies, too, haven't you, huh? We have some people, a group of people the other day. You know, we had a victory in North Carolina that was unbelievable, 2 of them. One of them, it was going to be very, very close. Here's another one of my friends. Thank you. I like that beautiful red tie you're wearing. But we had a victory, 2 victories, North Carolina, where one was 17 points down 3 weeks ago. We got involved. We started sending out lots of different social media messages. We did a couple of little robocalls, but the big thing, we did a speech the night before. The turnout was beyond belief. And instead of being down by 17 points, he easily won the election, 4,000 or 5,000 votes. Dan, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan Bishop. And Greg Murphy was up a couple of points, and he ended up winning. I don't know, I'd ask the media, but they won't give me. How many, what did he get? You know, like 20, 21? He won by a lot. He won by a lot. I'd ask them, but we're not going to get a straight answer. They were not happy. They were not happy. I'll tell you, Tuesday night, the fake news was not happy. You know, they had their studios all built. CNN had their A-list talent. They don't have A-list talent, but they had the best they could have. And they were all set. This was going to be the end of Trump because this man was going to lose, but he turned out to be tough and smart. And in all fairness, I helped a lot too. And toward the end of the night, they started dismantling that studio. Probably would have been there for 4 weeks. This is the end. But we had 2 great victories, congressional victories, on Tuesday night, and it was something. The one gentleman won by a number that nobody thought even possible so much, and the other won a race that he was way, way, way back. In fact, I shouldn't tell you this, but my geniuses, my people, some of those people standing right there, right there. Some of them right there. They said, "Sir, don't get involved in that race, sir. You can't come back from 17 points, sir. It's too much." I said, "But you know, I really like the guy. I think he's great. Let's give it a shot." They say, "Sir, if you lose, they will never, ever, it'll be much worse." I said, "Let me tell you, I know them very well. Whether I help him or don't help him, it's going to be the same. It's going to be a disaster. So let's help him." And we campaigned and we worked hard, right? They said, "Don't do it, sir. Don't do it. Please don't do it, sir. It'll be very embarrassing." I said, "No, I don't mind being embarrassed. I don't mind being embarrassed." We're also very proud that unemployment among Native Americans has reached the lowest rate in nearly 2 decades. And we're building an amazing future for citizens of every background, race, religion, color, and creed. And that's what we have. That's what we have. Race, religion, color, and creed. But the radical left Democrats want to demolish everything that we've gained. They want to raise your taxes. They want to bury you in regulation. They want to take away your health insurance, 180 million Americans. They want to erase American history, crush religious liberty, indoctrinate our students with left-wing ideology. And left-wing Democrats want to confiscate your guns and eliminate your God-given right to self-defense. You know that. As your president, I will never allow them to take away your liberty, your dignity, your Social Security. And I will never, ever allow them to take away your sacred right to keep and bear arms. The left tries to threaten, bully, intimidate Americans into submission. They use Democrat prosecutors and phony congressional committees whenever they can. They'll do whatever they can to demean you, to libel you. They try to blacklist, coerce, cancel, or destroy anyone who gets in their way. Look at what they're doing today to Justice Kavanaugh. Look at what they're doing. Did you see the New York Times? Did you see what they're doing? Did you see what Democrats? They're calling for his resignation. They're calling for his impeachment. And the woman involved said she didn't know anything. She doesn't, but they still. So the New York Times had to put out a major apology, and they had to change their story. The woman said, I don't remember that. Okay, believe? And they still want him to be impeached. And I just put out a statement on social media that said, I don't think they'll do it, but they should for the good of the nation. I call for the resignation of everybody at the New York Times involved in the Kavanaugh smear story. And while you're at it, the Russian witch hunt hoax, which is just as phony a story. They've taken the old gray lady. Do you know the New York Times? For years, the old gray lady, so prestigious. They've taken the old great lady and broken her down, destroyed her virtue, and ruined her reputation. She can never recover and will never return to greatness under current management. The Times is dead. Long live the New York Times. Long live the New York Times. And I do want it to live, but they have to change their ways. Think of it. They wrote a story about somebody that said, she doesn't remember this. Can you even believe it? And yet, all of these radical left crazies on Judiciary Committee and all of these committees that are set up to hurt the country, with all that we have going, with Saudi Arabia, with Iran, with China, trade deal, with Russia, with North Korea, with all that we have going. Look at the cards that we've been dealt. Lucky we won the election in 2016, believe me. With all that we have going, they say, let's impeach Justice Kavanaugh, one of the smartest, most brilliant students, top at Yale, incredible life, incredible family. Let's impeach him. It's a made-up story. Let's impeach President Trump. Think of that. The Mueller report came out. Think of this. This crazy Mueller report comes out. 18 Trump haters, liberal Democrats, some worked for Hillary Clinton. They found nothing. Now think of it. After 2 years, they found nothing. They spent $40 million. There's not a person in the room that I couldn't find something on with that. They spent, think of it, they found nothing. No collusion, no obstruction, no nothing. To stop the far left's campaign of destruction, you must vote Republican, and you're going to get the chance very soon. We're joined tonight by many terrific Republican leaders, and somebody that's done an incredible job. She ran Michigan for me, and as you know, for the presidential races, Michigan hadn't been won in decades, and she kept saying, "Could you come back, sir?" I didn't know who she was. I said, "Who the heck is the woman in Michigan that keeps asking?" She said, "Sir, if you keep coming back, you're going to win Michigan. Hasn't been won in decades." And I won Michigan. Remember that great night? November. That great night. Donald Trump has won the great state of Michigan, and they were going crazy on television. That was not a good night for certain people. Remember the couple of people that were crying? I guess they don't like a strong military. They don't like cutting regulations. They don't like low taxes. They don't like right to try, right to try. All these things we've done. For the vets, we got choice. We got choice for the vets. Choice. Everybody said it was impossible. We've rebuilt our military. I told the story for the first time today. A general came into my office, and my first few weeks, you remember, it was a little dangerous out there. President Obama left us with a few beauties, right? And I said to this general, "You better be prepared, because this is looking like it could really be conflict." And he looked at me and he goes, "Sir, we have very little ammunition." I said, "Say it again." And I want to tell you, the words "very little" he didn't use, because it was less than that. And I said, "I never want to see a president in a position like that, where we may have conflict, and a general looks at him and said, 'We have very little / no ammunition.' I never want a president of the United States to be in that position." And since then, 3 years, $700 billion we've spent, then $716 billion, and now $738 billion. And our military is by far the greatest in the world. There's nobody that even comes to us. So anyway, no president should ever be put in that position. And by the way, no president should ever have to go through what I've gone through either. That should never happen. What happened is a disgrace to our country. No president should ever have to go through it. And I'll tell you what, 99% of them would never have been able to take it. They wouldn't have been able to take it. But we won the great state of Michigan, and now we're doing really well because we've moved a lot of car companies. I tell Japan, sorry, big deficits with all these countries. We're changing it, but you got to get car companies. We're building car companies now in Michigan. They're not going to be leaving for lots of other countries, including China, including Mexico. They're going to stay home, and they're going to pay you a lot of money, and everybody's going to be happy. But Michigan's doing great. And Ronna McDaniel was the Republican Party chair of Michigan. So when we won the election, I said, let's get the woman from Michigan to run the RNC. And she has done an incredible job. Thank you, Ronna. A great gentleman who loves the Republican Party, co-chairman Tommy Hicks. Tommy, what a job. New Mexico Republican Party chairman Steve Pierce. My friend and a really talented guy, he just gets the hell knocked out of him all the time. Brad Parscale, what a job he's doing. Brad, great job, Brad. Great job. And another great friend of mine, somebody that was on CNN and they didn't like him because he was too positive on Trump. Can you believe it? He happens to be Hispanic. He happens to be Hispanic, but I've never quite figured it out because he looks more like a wasp than I do. So I haven't figured that one out. But I'll tell you what, there is nobody that loves this country more or Hispanic more than Steve Cortez. Steve. Thank you, Steve. Nobody loves the Hispanics more. Who do you like more, the country or the Hispanics? He says the country, I don't know. I may have to go for the Hispanics, to be honest with you. We got a lot of Hispanics. We love our Hispanics. Get out and vote. You know, just before the last election, the Cubans from Miami, where we got a tremendous percentage of the vote, close to 90%, they gave me the Bay of Pigs Award. Can you imagine, right? The Bay of Pigs Award. And the Venezuelans and the Cubans are all for Trump. I will tell you that. They're all for Trump. They like what we're doing. With the help of, and Steve, I want to thank you very much, by the way. And you were incredible on CNN, and now you'll get a real job, okay? Steve, that audience wasn't big enough for you. Their ratings aren't good. With the help of everyone here tonight, we're taking power out of Washington and giving it back to the great people of our country and to the people of New Mexico. We've cut a record number of job-killing regulations, saving the average American household $3,000. We passed the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. And what that means is a typical family of four in New Mexico making $75,000 has seen their tax bill reduced by more than $2,000. And it's one of the reasons that as the world is not doing great, you look at Europe and you look at Asia, and China's not doing too well, must be honest with you. Worst year in 57 years, I'd say that's not good. But I hope they still like me. And we've taken in tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs. And we've given those tariffs, and by the way, China's eating the tariffs. They're devaluing their currency. The prices are very similar. They're eating the tariffs. And out of the tens of billions, we gave our great farmers because they were targeted by China. Because China knows, very smart, that the farmers love Trump, and Trump loves the farmers. I said to our Secretary of Agriculture, Sonny Perdue, I said, Sonny, how much did the farmers get hit by China targeting them and pulling back and doing all sorts of things? He said, $16 billion. I said, that's okay. We'll take $16 billion out of a much, much, much larger number. We're going to give it to the farmers so that they're even. And I tell you, the farmers do love Trump. They do love Trump. And to keep New Mexico's farms, ranches, and small businesses in the family, we eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax so that you can now give your farm or your ranch to your children. Now, if you don't like your children, don't do it. But when it's your time to kick the bucket, you worked hard. You have great kids, you love your kids, they're taking care of you. You really love them, it's a great thing. If you don't love them, don't even listen to the last line because it won't matter. Don't leave it to them. If they're not good, leave it to charity, leave it to something else, don't give it to them. I know a guy can't stand his children. They're horrible, horrible human beings. They're a little older now, but they're horrible human beings. He wants to leave his wealth. I say, why would you leave them? They don't even like you. But on the assumption that you love your children, you'll be able to use small farms and your ranches and things. You'll be able to leave them to your children. Your children won't have to go out and borrow a fortune to pay tax. They won't be losing it to the banks 5 years later. We got rid of it. That's a big deal. Thank you. Thank you. Our shared Republican agenda is pro-worker, pro-jobs, pro-family, pro-growth, and 100% pro-American. For many decades, our leaders put global interests and special interests ahead of your interests. You know that. In New Mexico, you know exactly what I'm talking about. People came in, they took your jobs, they had no border, they had no border control. Look at what's going on now, how we're doing. I mean, honestly, I mentioned the president of Mexico. We have today 27,000 Mexican soldiers on the border protecting our country, and I'll take it. Because our laws are so bad, they're so pathetic. And the Democrats could change these laws. They could change them so quickly. We could change them all in less than an hour. We could, whether it's asylum, whether it's any of the laws, we have so many of them that are so bad. How they got that, it took years and years to end up. But we have the Mexican soldiers out there. You see them, and they're stopping people. The numbers are plummeting down. So I just want to thank all of the representatives of Mexico. Amazing. But we got to get rid of the loopholes. You know, the word is loopholes. And the Democrats could do it fast, but in the meantime, we're doing really well. And as the wall goes up, it becomes less and less of a problem. Because as the wall gets up, people aren't getting through. I mean, you got to be a world-class pole vaulter or a world-class Mount Everest type climber. There's not too many around like that. It's really doing the trick. The failed liberal establishment in Washington squandered your tax dollars, shipped away your jobs, sacrificed your sovereignty, and bogged us down in one foreign war or debacle, call it whatever you want, after another. And that's changing also. You see what's happening. And when these rich countries think we're going to pay for their military every year, billions and billions and billions, and they're rich and they take our business and we're supposed to, on top of everything else, I could tell you stories, but I'm going to save them for the campaign. You know, because to be honest, this is a little earlier than the campaign. Wait till this campaign starts. You know, like I was telling Brad and I was telling a few of the folks, one thing I don't want to do, Michael back there, Michael, hello, Mike, what a job he's done. But I'm telling them, I don't want to do this too early. I don't want to do it. You know, the Pocahontas thing, I did that, it was before its time. Right? It was before its time. Too early. 1024th. That means I have more Indian blood than she does, and I have none, unfortunately. I'd like to say I have a lot. That would get me another 4%, maybe another 10%. But I was early with her, and frankly, oh, it's coming back. Don't worry about it. But those days are over. Under this administration, we are finally putting America first. Putting it first. We're reversing decades of calamitous trade policies that ravished our industries and devastated communities all across our land. You see the factories, empty buildings, empty hulks. Some have been demolished, some have been reconverted into senior citizen housing and housing. But all those jobs are gone, and we're bringing them back. They're coming back like almost never before. Probably I can say they're coming back like never before. People are coming back now because they want to be where the action is, and this is the country where they have the security and where they do have the action. In my first week in office, I proudly withdrew from the last administration's job-destroying and this was a catastrophe. You know, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. This would have destroyed the automobile business in our country. Now, New Mexico, you know that you were totally devastated by another disaster known as NAFTA. Your state lost 33% of its manufacturing jobs after NAFTA was signed. This was one of the great catastrophes. And now we're replacing NAFTA with the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, USMCA. Think of the song YMCA, YMCA. Think of the song, USMCA. That's U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement. And it's drawing strong bipartisan support from all across your state and all across the country. It's amazing. I want to just, the Donana County Board of Commissioners, all Democrats, just unanimously endorsed the USMCA and urged Congress to pass it immediately. Thank you very much, Commissioners. All Democrats.